The galaxy carried many stories, but none was repeated more often than the tale of the scarred princess. Some said she was cursed, some whispered she was dangerous. Others believed she was a symbol of strength that no warrior could ever match. Whatever the truth was, one thing remained certain: no warrior dared to claim her hand in the grand halls of the alien empire. Her shadow was known before her name. She walked with pride, her long cloak sweeping behind her, her scars glowing faintly under the light of the crystal torches. The scars ran across her face and down her neck, marks of a battle no one spoke about. Each scar carried a secret, and every warrior who looked into her eyes felt fear. Who will claim her? The courtiers whispered, "She is a princess, but no one dares. To marry her means to face death itself." The empire's tradition was old. When a princess came of age, warriors from every clan would step forward, prove their courage, and win her as bride. But years had passed, and she still stood alone. Warriors would bow before her throne, but none would ask for her hand. Even the strongest shook their heads and walked away. One evening, the council gathered in the high court. The air was heavy with silence. Torches flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. The old council leader finally spoke. "This cannot continue. The princess is the blood of the empire. Without a chosen mate, the line will weaken." Yet no warrior dares step forward. A nervous laugh rose from one of the guards. Who would? To claim her is to invite death. The scars tell their story. The princess, sitting quietly on her throne, raised her head. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "My scars are not a curse. They are proof of survival. But perhaps survival is what terrifies your warriors." No one answered. The silence itself was an answer. Outside the hall, whispers spread through the empire. Rumors twisted into new shapes. Some said the scars were marks of a demon's fire. Others believed the princess had killed her own suitors long ago. Every retelling made the legend darker, more haunting. Yet the princess was not without pride. At night she walked the balcony of her palace, staring into the endless stars. She carried her scars with dignity, but deep inside, there was a question she never spoke aloud. Will no one ever see me beyond these marks? The empire continued to wait. Days turned into months, and months into years. The throne stood heavy. With silence, the princess watching with cold eyes as more warriors looked at her and turned away. Then, one fateful night, everything changed. The great arena, where warriors tested their courage, was filled with noise. Alien clans had gathered, their banners waving in the wind. The ground trembled under the roar of the crowd. Everyone expected to see another challenge, another battle, another show of strength. But instead, a figure stepped into the arena who did not belong. He was not one of them. His armor was different, simple compared to the polished plates of the alien warriors. His face was strange, smooth, unmarked by their tribal signs. He was human. Gasps filled the arena. A human? Voices shouted, "Impossible! How can an outsider stand here?" The man stood tall, though his step showed caution. His eyes, however, carried no fear. He looked directly at the throne where the princess sat, her scarred face glowing faintly. In the torchlight, "I come," he said in a firm voice, "to claim the hand of the princess." The arena fell silent. Even the torches seemed to stop flickering. The council rose in outrage. "This is madness. A human cannot stand where our warriors fear to tread. You dare insult our empire?" But the man did not flinch. "I dare, because I see what your warriors cannot. I see not scars, but strength. I see a princess worth standing beside." The princess froze. Her hands tightened around the arms of her throne. For years no one had spoken to her this way. Number one had looked past the marks. And now, of all creatures in the galaxy, it was a human who did. A bitter laugh rang through the court. One of the strongest warriors stepped forward, pointing at the human with his blade. "You will not leave this arena alive. If you wish to claim her, you must survive the trials. They will crush you, human." The man's reply was steady. "Then, let them come." The crowd erupted, half in laughter, half in shock. The princess lowered her eyes, hiding the storm of emotions within. She had expected warriors to fear her forever. She had expected her life to remain an endless chain of silence. Yet here was a stranger, fragile compared to her people, but with eyes that carried something. Her warriors lacked courage that came without pride. As the council announced the trials, tension gripped the empire. Some believed the human would die within the hour. Others whispered that fate itself was shifting. The princess remained silent, but her gaze followed him as he was led away to prepare. For the first time in many years, her heart raced with something she thought she had lost: curiosity. That night, alone in her chamber, she looked into the mirror. The scars traced across her skin, reminders of pain, survival, and endless loneliness. She touched them lightly, then whispered to herself, "He does not fear me." Why? The stars outside burned brighter, as if the universe itself had paused. Waiting. The legend of the scarred princess was about to change, and the galaxy would never be the same. The announcement spread across the empire like fire racing through dry fields. A human had stood in the arena and claimed the scarred princess. No one believed it at first. The idea was too absurd. Humans were weak, fragile, and short-lived compared to the alien clans. How could one of them dare stand where even the strongest warriors refused? Yet the human's words echoed in every hall. "I see not scars, but strength. I see a princess worth standing beside." The council could not allow such a challenge to go unanswered. According to the laws of the empire, if someone declared their claim, the trials would decide their fate. If the human failed, he would die. If he survived, the princess herself would choose. The law was old, unbroken, and unbending. The human was escorted through dark stone corridors beneath the arena. Guards marched around him, their heavy boots striking the ground like hammers. Some sneered at him, whispering in their alien tongue, certain he would not live past dawn. One of the guards finally spoke, his voice sharp. "Do you understand what you have done, human? These trials are not made for your kind. They will break you." The man gave a faint smile. "Maybe, but I did not come here to bow." The guards scowled and looked away. In her private chamber above, the princess sat by the tall window, staring down at the torchlit courtyard. She could hear the crowd chanting, voices filled with anger and curiosity. Her mind was restless. Number warrior had ever spoken to her as the human did. No warrior had ever looked into her eyes without flinching. Her most trusted handmaiden entered quietly. "Princess, they say the human has no fear." The princess did not look away from the window. "Fear hides in many forms. We will see what lives inside him soon enough." The first trial was announced at dawn. The arena gates opened with a deep, echoing sound, and the crowd roared as the human stepped into the sand. Across from him, massive doors creaked open, and a beast the size of 3 men charged forward. Its hide was covered in spikes, its mouth dripping with glowing venom. Warriors of the empire cheered, certain the human would be crushed in moments. The man stood still, breathing slowly. He did not have the heavy weapons of the aliens, only a simple blade at his side. When the beast roared and lunged, he moved not with strength, but with speed. Rolling to the side, he slashed at its leg, forcing it to stumble. The crowd gasped. No one had expected such agility. Again and again the beast attacked, but the human did not fight it with brute force. He stayed low, struck at weak points, and used the creature's size against it. Finally, with one sharp movement, he drove his blade into the beast's throat. The monster collapsed, its roar fading into silence. The arena was stunned. Impossible! Someone shouted. The council leader rose from his seat, his eyes narrowed. He survived the first trial. But the second will end him. The princess leaned forward slightly. She had not moved during the fight, her expression unreadable. Yet, deep inside, something stirred. The second trial began at sunset. This time the human faced not a beast, but a warrior. The chosen fighter was one of the Empire's strongest, tall, armored in black steel, his weapon a massive hammer that glowed with red light. The warrior laughed when he saw the human. "You are nothing but prey. I will crush you like an insect." The human tightened his grip on his blade. "You talk too much." The crowd exploded with laughter at the insult. The warrior's eyes burned with fury, and he charged. The ground shook as the hammer swung down, but the human dodged just in time. The blow cracked the stone floor where he had been standing. The fight was brutal. Every strike from the warrior was meant to kill, but the human refused to meet strength. With strength, he moved quickly, striking only when the chance appeared. A cut across the warrior's arm. A slash at his side. Each small wound made the crowd grow louder. Finally, when the warrior lifted his hammer high for a finishing blow, the human rushed forward. Instead of retreating, he went closer, slipping beneath the giant's guard. His blade pierced the gap in the warrior's armor, finding the heart. The warrior gasped, eyes wide, then collapsed in the sand. The arena fell silent once more. The council stood in disbelief. The crowd could not decide whether to cheer or curse. The human stood over the fallen body, breathing hard, but still alive. From her throne, the princess's eyes never left him. Her lips moved in a whisper only she could hear. "Why do you not fall like the others?" That night, the council gathered in secret chambers. Anger filled the room. "This cannot continue," one of them growled. "If he survives, the princess may choose him." Imagine the shame, an outsider, a weak human, standing where our warriors failed. Another hissed, "We must remove him before the trials end. If he dies quietly, no law is broken." The council leader nodded slowly. "So be it. Before the next trial begins, he will not see another sunrise." But as their plans were whispered, the princess herself moved silently through the shadows of the palace. She had overheard their words. For the first time in many years, anger burned in her heart. "They fear him," she murmured, "and fear reveals truth." Far below, in the chamber where the human rested, he sat on the cold stone floor, sharpening his blade with calm hands. His body was bruised, blood marked his armor, yet his eyes burned with steady fire. A guard stepped inside, pausing before speaking. "Human, why do you fight? You know they want you dead. You cannot win against the council, against the Empire itself." The man looked up, his voice firm. "I did not come to win an empire. I came because no one else dared to see her for who she is." The guard fell silent, shaken by the words above. The princess stood at her window again, staring into the endless night. For the first time, her scars felt lighter. Somewhere inside her, hope fragile and dangerous began to awaken. The human had survived what no other dared. But greater dangers waited in the shadows, ready to strike before he could face the final trial. And the galaxy held its breath, waiting for what would come next. The Empire did not sleep that night. Whispers of the humans' victories carried through every street and every hall. No one could believe what they had seen with their own eyes. A fragile outsider had defeated a beast of venom and one of the Empire's strongest warriors. Some called it luck. Others called it fate. But many whispered that it was only a matter of time before his blood painted the arena floor. The third trial was declared at dawn. It would not be one beast or one warrior. It would be many. A test of strength, skill, and endurance. The kind of challenge that had broken even the proudest of alien champions. The arena filled once again. Torches burned brighter, the crowd restless and eager. The human stood in the center, his blade held low, his breath steady. Around him, gates began to creak open, one after another. From the first gate came armored hunters with curved spears, their eyes glowing. From another, wolf-like beasts with metal claws. From the third, 2 warriors in heavy black armor, carrying axes larger than the human himself. The ground shook as they entered, circling him like predators. The council leader raised his hand. "Begin." The beasts attacked first, leaping across the sand with snapping jaws. The human moved quickly, rolling aside and slashing at one's throat. Blood sprayed, and the beast collapsed, but the others came faster. One claw ripped across his arm, tearing flesh. He hissed but did not fall. The hunters pressed forward, their spears flashing like lightning. The human used his smaller size to slip between them, striking when they left an opening. One spear shattered against the stone wall. Another was torn from its wielder's hands. But the armored warriors stepped in, their heavy axes crashing. Down with earth-shaking force, the human fought like a shadow in the storm. Every movement was survival. He dodged, he struck, he fell and rose again. Sweat and blood mixed on his face. His blade grew heavy, his breath ragged. The crowd roared. With every strike, half cheering for his death, half unable to look away. From her throne, the princess leaned forward. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She had seen countless warriors fall in this very arena, their pride and strength shattered. But this human refused to break. Even bleeding, even surrounded, he stood at last with a final cry. He drove his blade into the chest of the last armored warrior. The giant fell, the arena echoing with the sound of his armor crashing against the stone. Silence followed. The human stood alone, his chest rising and falling, blood dripping from his wounds. His enemies lay scattered at his feet. The crowd erupted into chaos. "This is impossible." One shouted, "He is cheating." Cried another, but the law was the law. He had survived. He had conquered the third trial. The princess rose from her throne, her cloak flowing behind her. For the first time, her voice carried into the arena. "You fight not like a beast, nor like a warrior blinded by pride. You fight as though survival itself is your weapon. Tell me, human, why?" The man wiped blood from his brow and looked up at her. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Because survival is all I have ever known." Their eyes met across the distance. And for a moment, the noise of the crowd seemed to vanish. But deep within the council's chambers, shadows moved. The leaders were furious. "This cannot go on," one hissed. "If the princess sees him as worthy, she may choose him. Then our empire will be ruled by a human." Another slammed his fist against the table. "It is already decided. He must die before the next trial. We will send assassins tonight. No law will bind us in the dark." The council leader nodded. His eyes glowed with cold fury. "Make it so." That night, the human rested in a chamber beneath the arena. His wounds had been bound, but pain burned in every muscle. He sharpened his blade by the light of a single torch. His mind was not on the pain, but on the eyes of the princess. The way she had looked at him. Not with fear, not with contempt, but with something else. Something he had not seen in years. The door creaked open. He turned quickly, blade in hand. It was not a guard, it was her. The princess herself, cloaked in shadow, her scars catching the faint light. "You should not be here." He whispered. "Neither should you," she replied softly. She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "The council will not wait for the next trial. They plan to kill you before dawn." The human stared at her, his jaw tightening. "I expected as much." "You do not understand," she said firmly. "This is not like the trials. They will send assassins skilled in silence. They will not face you with honor. They will strike when you close your eyes." He studied her face, the scars, the fierce light in her eyes. "Then I will not close my eyes." For the first time, she almost smiled. "You are either brave or a fool." "Both," he admitted. Her cloak shifted as she turned to leave. But before she stepped into the shadows again, she looked back at him. "Survive the night, human. Survive, and you may yet see what fate has written." When she was gone, he sat in silence. The torch flickered, shadows stretching along the walls. Somewhere beyond the chamber, soft footsteps approached. The assassins were already coming. The human gripped his blade and stood in the dark. His body was broken, his blood not yet dry, but his spirit burned like fire. And above, the princess stood at her balcony, watching the night sky. Her voice was a whisper carried by the wind. "Survive, human, and prove to me that strength is more than scars." The Empire slept uneasily, waiting for dawn. But in the shadows, the real trial was only beginning. The night was quiet, but the silence was a lie. Shadows moved through the palace corridors, silent and deadly. The council had sent assassins, skilled in stealth and secrecy. Their task was simple: kill the human before he could face the final trial. No one was to see the murder, and the Empire's laws would remain untouched. Deep beneath the arena, the human sat sharpening his blade. He could hear the faint dripping of water, the wind howling through the cracks in the stone walls. His wounds still ached, but his mind was alert. He had survived beasts, warriors, and nearly impossible trials. Now he sensed a new danger, a danger that moved unseen. The door creaked softly. A shadow slipped in. The human's hand tightened around his blade, his body ready. "Come out," he called quietly. "I know someone is here." No answer. Just the whisper of footsteps. Then, in a flash, two figures lunged from the dark. They were faster than humanly possible, knives glinting. He blocked one strike with the edge of his blade, ducked the other, and countered with a quick slash to the arm. Pain shot through his muscles, but he fought on. The assassins were skilled. They moved as one, striking from angles no ordinary warrior could anticipate. The human rolled to the side, slashing and dodging, his body pushed to the edge. Blood ran down his hands, his blade slick, but still he stood. One of the assassins hissed, "This is impossible. He is just a human." "I told you," the other replied. "He is not just a human. He has something. Something we cannot see." The fight raged, echoing in the stone chamber. Each blow, each step carried weight and danger. The human knew he could not keep fighting forever. He had to end it quickly. Summoning every ounce of strength, he threw himself forward, dodging the second assassin's knife and driving his blade into the first. The sound of steel-piercing flesh filled the air. The second assassin froze, then vanished into the shadows. The human pressed his advantage, striking fast, his heart racing. Within moments, both assassins lay unconscious, and silence returned to the chamber. He sank to the ground, gasping. "Too close," he muttered. "Too close." Far above, the princess paced her private chamber. She had sensed the danger before anyone else. Her mind had screamed that something was wrong. Her instincts, honed over years of battles and scars, told her the human faced a trap. She whispered to herself, "If he falls tonight, everything we believe in will end." Her handmaiden peeked in, startled by the princess's agitation. "Princess, you are awake so late." "I must watch," she replied, eyes fixed on the horizon where the stars barely pierced the night sky. "Something is coming." Below, the human tended to his wounds, wrapping torn cloth around bleeding cuts. The torchlight flickered, casting strange shadows along the walls. He could hear the distant sounds of the palace footsteps, soft voices, the whisper of guards in the hall. He had survived the council's open trials, but now he faced the silent ones, the hidden threats that lurked in every corner. Suddenly, a voice hissed from the dark. "You think you can survive this empire, human?" The human spun, blade raised. "I have survived worse. A figure stepped forward, cloaked in black, face hidden. Worse, you have no idea. The council does not. Play fair, you are a pawn, and pawns are crushed. The human's eyes narrowed. I am no pawn. One choose my own path. The cloaked figure laughed softly, low and menacing. We shall see. The princess favors you. That is a weakness you do not understand. The council cannot allow her choice. They will decide, and your life is forfeit. The human did not flinch. Then I will face them too. The figure vanished into the shadows, leaving only the echo of words. The human wiped sweat and blood from his face. The palace was alive with danger now. Every corner could hide a blade, every shadow could carry death, but he had no fear. His mind focused, his will stronger than ever. Meanwhile, the princess could not sleep. She thought of him, alone and wounded, facing hidden killers in the depths of her empire. Anger burned in her chest, not for him, but for those who would betray justice for fear and pride. I should not let them touch him, she whispered. He has earned more than survival. He deserves truth. By dawn, the palace was silent again, but the sense of tension remained. The human had survived the council's assassins, yet he knew the next day would bring even greater challenges. The final trial would test him in ways that were impossible to imagine. And the princess, she would have to decide not only his fate but the future of the empire itself. As he cleaned his blade and prepared for the next day, he whispered to the empty chamber, I will survive. No shadow, no law, no empire can stop me. Not while I fight for what is right. The sun's first light spilled through the cracks, brushing the palace in gold and red. Outside, the empire awoke, unaware of the danger that had passed in the night. But within the stone walls, the human stood ready. The princess's gaze distant, but never far from him. The council's betrayal had been revealed, their secret attempts exposed. Yet one question remained. Could a human, fragile in body but fierce, in spirit, truly survive the Empire's final test? The answer would come, and when it did, the galaxy would tremble. The arena was silent. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the sand. The Empire waited, holding its breath. Every eye was on the human who had survived impossible trials. Every heart was on the scarred princess who had remained. Distant, quiet, her decision about to change the fate of the Empire. The council had gathered, their faces hard, their whispers sharp. They had planned to control the outcome, to force her hand, but the human had survived every attempt. Even there, secret assassins had failed. Now nothing remained but her choice. The princess rose from her throne, her cloak flowing like dark water behind her. She stepped into the open arena, every movement commanding silence. The crowd gasped. Many expected fear, a princess unsure of her power. But she walked with confidence, her scars a story of battles won, a symbol of strength. She stopped before the human, who bowed slightly, though his body was still tired and bruised. His eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. You have survived what no one else could, she said softly, her voice carrying over the arena. Beasts, warriors, betrayal. You have faced all without faltering. Yet this is not enough. I must decide. Do you understand what you risk? The human straightened. I do. I risk my life. But not for fame, not for glory. I risk it because I see you as you are. Scars, strength, and all. Her gaze softened, but her eyes still burned with intensity. Many have looked upon me with fear, others with desire or greed. You have looked with something different. I cannot explain it. The council stirred angrily. One of them shouted, Princess, you must follow tradition. You cannot choose this human. He is weak, she ignored them. Tradition is law, yes. But law without justice is no law at all. He has proven his strength, his heart, his mind. Now I choose. A murmur ran through the empire. Shock, anger, disbelief. A human? To be chosen over warriors, over the strongest of clans? Some of the audience could not believe their eyes. Others whispered quietly, awe and fear mixing in their voices. The human stepped closer, kneeling before her, not in submission, but respect. Princess, if you choose me, I will honor you, your people, and this empire. I will not falter, I will not fail. Her voice was firm now, carrying authority over every whisper. Rise, human. You do not kneel before me as a subject, but stand with me as my equal. You have earned it. Not because of what you are, but because of who you are. The human rose, his chest swelling with a mix of relief, pride, and awe. Around them, the empire held its collective breath. Some warriors clenched their fists in anger. Others lowered their heads, unable to hide a grudging respect. The council leader banged his fist against the podium. You are defying every rule, every custom. You will regret this, princess. She looked at him calmly, her eyes like steel. Regret? I see no regret. Only truth. Strength is not measured by scars avoided or by fear imposed. Strength is measured by courage, by heart, by honor. And he has shown me all three. A tense silence followed. Then, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, the princess reached out and touched his shoulder. Human, I choose you. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some shouted in outrage, but all eyes were fixed on the unlikely pair. The human's lips parted in shock and relief. He could hardly believe what had happened. The princess turned to the council, her voice unwavering. Let it be known, the choice is mine. No one else can decide for me. Not tradition, not fear, not law. The empire's future begins with this. Truth. One warrior stepped forward, his head bowed. Princess, we may not understand, but we will respect your choice. If he stands with you, we will follow him too. Others murmured agreement, and slowly the mood shifted. Some acceptance, some caution, but no one dared challenge her openly. The human, still catching his breath, finally spoke. Princess, I cannot promise to be perfect. I cannot promise that I will not falter. But I can promise you, I will stand with you in every battle, in every decision, until the end. She nodded, her hand resting lightly on his arm. That is all I ask. We will face what comes together. Strength is not alone, it is shared. The sky darkened, stars beginning to appear one by one. The empire watched as the human and the scarred princess stood together, side by side. They were an unusual pair, a union unexpected, but powerful. The scars, once feared and whispered about, now glowed as symbols of survival and courage. Even the council, though angry and humiliated, could not undo what had happened. They had tried to control fate, to manipulate tradition, to destroy what they could not understand. But the princess had chosen truth, and that choice would echo through the empire for generations. The human looked around at the alien warriors, the beasts, the empty seats of the council. I will not fail you, he said again, this time more softly. To her alone, the princess smiled faintly, a rare warmth in her eyes. I know, and you have already proven that. The empire may doubt, the council may scheme, but together we are stronger than anything they can throw at us. As the night grew deeper, a calm settled over the arena. The trials were over, the choice made, yet a new journey began. It would not be easy. The empire would resist. Enemies would rise. But for the first time in centuries, the princess stood. Not alone, and the human stood not as a stranger, but as an equal partner in a future forged by courage, trust, and unexpected bonds. The stars twinkled above them, silent witnesses to a decision that would change the galaxy. And in that quiet, the princess whispered softly, almost to herself, strength is not in hiding from scars. It is in facing them and in standing beside someone who sees your truth. The human's hand closed over hers. Together, they turned to face the Empire, ready for what was to come, side by side. The day of the wedding arrived, and the Empire's capital was alive with unease. Banners fluttered in the wind, but not with celebration. Fear and curiosity mixed in every motion. Some whispered that the princess had gone mad, choosing a human over the strongest warriors of the Empire. Others dared to hope that perhaps change was coming, something new, something daring. The palace was decorated with colors that gleamed in the sunlight, gold and crimson, symbols of power and tradition. Yet even amid the beauty, tension lingered like a shadow. The council had not forgotten. Their whispers of rebellion and sabotage had spread through the halls. Every servant, every guard, every advisor seemed a potential threat. The human stood near the entrance, his armor polished, his blade hidden for the day. He looked uneasy, not from fear, but from the knowledge of what might happen. "Are you certain about this?" he asked the princess quietly, his voice low. She smiled faintly, her scars catching the light, her hand brushing lightly against his. "I have never been more certain. Today, we face them not as a warrior and a stranger, but as equals, together." Outside, the crowd of the Empire waited, restless and expectant. Some cheered at the sight of the princess stepping forward, her presence commanding attention. Others muttered complaints, angry that tradition had been defied. The council, seated in their high chairs, scowled at the display. One of them whispered, "This wedding must not succeed. If the Empire sees them united, no one will ever challenge such defiance again." The ceremony began. The princess walked gracefully toward the altar, her steps measured, deliberate. The human followed, keeping pace, every eye on him. He felt the weight of countless gazes, suspicion and hope burning into his back. The high priest, an ancient alien with flowing robes and eyes like molten silver, spoke first. "This union is unlike any before it. The laws of tradition demand obedience, yet the law of truth demands recognition. The princess is chosen, and the human stands before us as her equal. Will the Empire accept this choice?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few warriors shifted uneasily. Guards exchanged glances. The council's faces darkened with anger. The human looked at the princess. "We face them together," he whispered. She nodded. "Always," the priest continued, "then let the vows be spoken." The princess stepped closer to him, her voice steady, her tone unwavering. "I choose you not for your strength alone, but for your heart, your courage, and your spirit. Together we will face whatever comes." The human took her hands in his, eyes shining. "I choose you not because you are a princess, but because you are who you are, scarred, strong, and unyielding. I will stand with you against anyone who tries to destroy what we have." A sudden commotion erupted from the back of the hall. One of the council's hidden warriors leapt forward, a dagger raised high. The crowd gasped in horror. The human reacted instantly. He stepped in front of the princess, grabbing her lightly by the arm and rolling to the side. The dagger struck the floor with a clang. Guards rushed forward, restraining the would-be assassin. The princess's eyes blazed. "Is this your choice, council? To strike openly now, when we have shown nothing but honor?" The council leader's face was a mask of fury. "This human is a threat to the Empire. We will not allow our laws to be broken, even by your defiance." The human raised his hands, showing he meant no further violence. "I do not seek conflict, but if you strike, I will not run. I will fight for her, for the truth, and for what is right." The crowd fell silent again, tension so thick it could be cut with a blade. Slowly, one by one, the warriors and guards who had followed the council's orders stepped back. The people's eyes were not on tradition anymore. They were on the courage of two individuals who dared to defy fear itself. The priest's voice rang out, calm and firm. "Enough. Violence has no place here. The choice has been made. Let it be honored, or let the Empire face the consequences of its own defiance. The council could not respond. Their authority, once absolute, had been challenged openly, and the sight of the human defending the princess with honor had shifted the balance. The ceremony continued. The princess and the human exchanged rings, symbols of their union, of trust, forged through trials and danger. Every movement was deliberate, every word a statement of defiance against fear, against manipulation, against the Empire's rigid traditions. When the vows were complete, the high priest declared, "By the laws of truth and courage, this union is recognized. The human stands not as a subject, but as a partner, and the princess stands not alone, but with one who has proven himself in every trial." Cheers erupted from the crowd, a mix of awe, relief, and newfound hope. Some of the council turned their faces away, unwilling to acknowledge the power of choice. Others bowed stiffly, a reluctant respect forming despite their anger. The human and the princess faced each other, hands clasped, eyes locked. "We have survived," he whispered. "Yes," she replied. "And now we begin, together." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with fiery reds and golds. The Empire watched as an unlikely pair stood united, stronger than any tradition, braver than any fear. Scars and courage, human and alien, side by side. From the shadows, the council retreated, plotting still, but aware that they could not undo what had been done. The Empire had witnessed defiance, honor, and truth. And for the first time, change had come, not with fire or blood, but with courage and choice. The wedding of defiance was complete. The scarred princess and the human had shown the galaxy that strength was not measured by birth, by fear, or by tradition. Strength was measured by heart, courage, and the willingness to stand together, even when all others doubted. As the first stars appeared in the night sky, the princess whispered softly to her new partner, "We have made our choice. Now we must face the world, together." The human smiled, his hand tightening around hers. "I am ready. With you, I am ready for anything." And so, beneath the glittering stars and the watchful eyes of the Empire, a new chapter began, a story of courage, love, and defiance that would echo through generations. The morning after the wedding was quiet, but the Empire was far from calm. Word had spread of the princess's choice and the human survival against impossible trials. Some were amazed, others furious. The council, humiliated, gathered in secret chambers, plotting revenge. "We cannot allow this union to stand," hissed one of the council members, slamming a fist against the table. "The Empire will crumble if a human holds power at the side of the princess." The council leaders' eyes glimmered with cold fury. "Then we act now. No mercy, no hesitation. Strike while they believe themselves safe. The Empire will bend, or it will break them." But the princess and the human were not idle. They had anticipated retaliation. Their alliance was forged in trials, betrayal, and shared courage. The human sharpened his blade in the dim light of dawn, muscles sore but ready. "Do you really think they will come?" he asked, voice low. "They will," the princess replied, adjusting the strap of her armor. "But we are no longer alone. The people have seen truth. Many will stand with us." As the sun climbed, the council's forces moved. Soldiers armed with gleaming weapons stormed toward the palace gates. The human and the princess waited, side by side, watching the horizon. A horn sounded. The first wave of warriors arrived, their faces grim, their loyalty unquestioning. The council believed numbers alone would guarantee victory. The human turned to the princess. "We must hold them until the others arrive. Can we?" Her eyes met his, fierce and unwavering. "We will not just hold. We will show them what courage looks like, together." The gates burst open, and the first wave of soldiers charged. The human met them with precise strikes, moving with a speed and strength that surprised even seasoned warriors. The princess fought alongside him, her blade cutting through the air with deadly accuracy. Every move was coordinated, every strike intentional. The battle raged across the palace courtyard. Shouts, clangs of steel, and cries of pain echoed through the air. The council's soldiers fought with discipline, but they were not prepared for the unity and determination of the princess and her human partner. One soldier managed to reach the princess, raising his sword for a strike. The human leapt in front of her, blade flashing. "Not today!" he shouted, knocking the weapon aside and sending the soldier sprawling. She pressed forward, striking down enemies with precision. Her scars gleamed under the sun, a reminder of survival and strength. Each strike she made inspired those around her, guards, citizens, and even hesitant warriors, many of whom joined their defense. From the council's chambers, the leader watched, rage twisting his features. They cannot win. They are only two against an empire. But the empire was shifting. The citizens and soldiers who had seen courage and truth began to turn against the council's orders. One by one, they dropped their weapons, refusing to fight against the human and the Kikong princess who had shown honor and bravery. The council's power crumbled under the weight of their own deception. Soldiers who once obeyed blindly now questioned every command. The human moved like lightning, the princess like a storm, their partnership unbreakable, their courage infectious. Finally, the council leader stepped into the courtyard himself, a blade raised, eyes burning with fury. "Enough," he roared. "You will kneel, human, and you, princess, will obey." The princess stepped forward, unafraid. "We obey only what is right. Your laws are broken, your loyalty misplaced, and your fear is your chain. Today, the empire learns what strength truly means." The human moved to her side. "And we will not fall," he said firmly. "Not to fear, not to tyranny, not to anyone who refuses to see truth." The council leader charged, but the human anticipated his move. With a swift strike, he disarmed the leader, sending the blade clattering across the stones. The princess moved in perfect timing, her strike knocking him to the ground. Silence fell over the courtyard. The remaining council members, seeing their leader defeated and their soldiers unwilling to fight, dropped to their knees. The empire had spoken, and the voice was united. Courage, truth, and loyalty to those who had earned it. The princess looked down at the fallen council leader. "Your time of fear is over. You will answer for your betrayal, but not with bloodshed today. The empire needs justice, not vengeance." The human nodded, placing a hand lightly on her arm. "Justice can wait for the right moment. For now, we hold what we have earned." Cheers rose from the citizens and soldiers alike. The empire had witnessed something impossible. A human and a scarred princess, standing together, defeating betrayal and fear, showing that courage and heart were stronger than tradition and tyranny. The council members were escorted away, their plots exposed, their power broken. The empire slowly began to stabilize, guided now by truth, honor, and the alliance of two who had defied the odds. The human looked at the princess, his face weary but filled with pride. "We did it," he said softly. She smiled, her scars catching the sunlight. "Yes, together, and this is only the beginning." The citizens of the empire watched in awe, some cheering, some silently nodding, but all knowing that a new era had begun. An era where strength was measured not by fear or birth, but by courage, loyalty, and heart. As the sun set, painting the sky in fiery shades, the human and the princess stood atop the palace balcony, looking over the empire. "The trials are over," he said, "but the real journey begins now." She nodded, her hand finding his. "Yes, the empire will test us, the future will challenge us, but together we will face everything." side by side. And under the glowing stars, the empires. New rulers scarred, brave, and united stood ready. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible, and nothing would ever be the same. The human turned to her, a quiet promise in his eyes. Whatever comes, I am yours, and you are mine. She smiled, placing her hand over his. Always, and together. We will make the empire stronger than ever. The wind swept across the balcony, carrying the sounds of a changed world. A world where courage had triumphed, and love and honor had reshaped the empire forever.